Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros. This episode, we're going to do the new segments we said we're going to do. Thanks for listening to another edition of the Handyman Pros Radio Show, where our goal is to help you save time, money, and aggravation. This episode's entitled, We're going to finally do the new segments we said we're going to do. And to help me explain, I've got my old buddy John here with me. John, what's been going on this week?
Hey, Larry, glad to be here. It's back in the house, baby. And what's been going on this past week is I've got squirrels again getting into my attic, and I don't understand how they're getting back in there. Paid quite a pretty penny to have this place sealed up, but those things always seem to find a way. And since I've been living here, they can be a real nuisance. But
yes.
I got the guys coming out to, they come on out and fix it.
You mean you didn't do it yourself?
Nope. I am not getting way up on the peaks of this place and trying to figure that out and put little screens in here and there, and I'm not going to do it. So, no.
Nope, me neither. Well,
no, 40-foot ladders are a thing of the past.
yes, they are. So wildlife sort of reminds me of a thing. So I put Arlo cameras up at the house, right?
Oh yeah.
And we did it for security reasons. We wanted to see who was coming and going, and about the only thing we see on a regular basis are the deer, the foxes, the possum, the 4 raccoons that run through the yard every single night, the neighbor's cat, and the neighbor's dogs.
Yeah.
But it does bring up a great topic, which is one of our new topics is we were going to do 2 new topics. We were going to do in the news and we were going to do technology, right?
Right.
So let's talk. We've got some topics that actually I think we're going to kind of combine these 2 issues because we've got some technology stuff that we want to talk to, and then we've got some in the news stuff that's actually technology driven, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about technology first. What do you think? How about talking about smart homes and stuff like that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I mean, that's kind of all the rage these days.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of things. I mean, in my last position, in real life, we were part of the IoT, the Internet of Things. And that's
aren't we still in the Internet of Things here?
And that's what yes, and that's what all these things are that you're attaching to your home. I mean, that's part of it. All these little gadgets, all these switches, light bulbs, refrigerators, everything's kind of attached now to your internet. And
my understanding is you just purchased the new toilet seat that's hooked up to the internet.
No, I haven't got that yet. I'm anxiously waiting.
Oh, Carol, as soon as I say that, somebody's going to go send me an email with a picture of something that's hooked up to the internet.
Right. Yeah, I can't imagine that, but
I can.
So,
but anyway,
I don't know how far you really, everybody wants to go with these things. I mean, there's a lot of neat things out there that you can do these days that hook up.
So let's pick some out of the woods. So I talked about the Arlo camera system that I put on my house, which is there's Arlo, there's Ring, there's what else is there?
There's a myriad. There's a myriad
bunch
of these things. And you can get some really nice cameras for pretty cheap, but those are almost a necessity these days. It's really nice to have cameras, and they're cheap.
They're very inexpensive
for what they are. So
our decision tree was kind of interesting on that. So we were actually looking. We're old school, right? We're older. We were thinking about getting ADT, right? And so for me, I'm just like, for whatever reason, I'm searching around and I'm looking at Ring and I'm going, because I've installed some Rings on some people's homes, and I installed a Ring security camera and then a regular Ring. I've installed several Ring things, and I think the biggest thing I noticed on the Rings that I thought was absolutely awesome was the actual ability on how far you can see. I put one on a single woman's house, and I mean you could see the whole cul-de-sac from just her doorbell. It was really awesome. And I looked at it and I said, why am I going to pay a security system company to monitor my doors and windows when I can get a real-time update and I think I can call the police faster than they can?
Yeah, so there's a lot of really nice wireless security systems out there too.
Yeah, there's tons.
I have not had personal experience with them, but they're not naming names, but there's some really nice ones that have glass break and all those sensors and everything, and it's relatively inexpensive. Yeah. So the other thing that's interesting about Ring is I see that the police are trying to group those things together so that they have like police cameras for a neighborhood.
Yeah, I actually just read
all that stuff is going to the cloud.
I actually just read an article. It's kind of interesting. So speaking of in the news, this is where this ties in the news that there was a we'll call it less desirable areas of particular cities in the country. Some of the churches and things have started installing these security systems in the things because when they have pictures of people doing drug deals on the streets, where they have recorded pictures, the police can actually take action. They actually have to at that point. So it's a way that on a grassroots level they've been increasing. And I think I read that. I think it was a Wall Street Journal article. Actually, I'm not sure, but if you search it, you'll find it. It's how Next is becoming the largest surveillance company in the world, Ring is becoming the largest surveillance company in the world or something. It was pretty interesting, actually. It was interesting how at a grassroots level that people have taken security into their own hands and forced the police's hands because the police wouldn't do anything about it beforehand.
Yeah, it's a little scary, but
to a degree.
Yeah. Anyways, to that aside, after my legal classes on the Fourth Amendment, but I. But that aside, we'll leave that be.
John's got a JD, by the way.
Right. That's right. And as an attorney, I'll give you good advice: wear a neck brace. So, so there's all kinds of things that we'll be talking about throughout the year of these things, giving you tips and tricks on how to install them and what's it. I mean, I know a lot of people are going through. We talked earlier about the thermostats.
Yep.
A lot of people now are putting in a smart switch. And there's some caveats to that.
Yeah, there's caveats to the smart switches. I actually was just on a job last week. It's funny, the guy calls me up. He says, well, my sister installed these smart switches, and now I don't have any lights. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's something about smart switches that I can't remember. But, oh, yeah, that's right. You need to have the neutral wire, the white wire, to hook up your smarts or some smart switches. And I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but in this particular case, he needed the neutral wire. And since his house was built in 2005, he didn't have the neutral wire coming down to the switch. So we swapped him back to regular switches. And now he has lights, which was actually a pretty big deal for him. You bet.
From smart to dumb, and now it works.
So there are some caveats on some of this technology.
Don't get too smart.
Well, right. I mean, but understand that if you think like and he gave me his logic tree for this, right? He said, well, I bought smart switches because they were cheaper than smart light bulbs. And I said, yeah, but you have to have the neutral wire, so you had to be smarter than the building.
Yeah, and then there's hubs for these things.
And there's hubs, and
and then you some of them you can run through your regular router and your Wi-Fi and things like that. And others have to have a dedicated hub, and so there's all kinds of little pieces and parts.
Yeah, read the details.
And then there's a lot of people that are concerned about getting hacked, because that's a way into their Wi-Fi systems. If people can get into your smart equipment, and then trying to figure a way out to separate those from your regular router, which is, without going into a whole lot of detail here, that's real technical. It's really not going to work.
Sounds like you worked in IT for a while.
So, but it's, we'll be talking about that. So we've got smart switches, light bulbs, cameras.
You told me something about the thermostats that I did not realize, which makes sense to me. I always wondered, like, do I care if I turn my temperature up unless I'm traveling from, away?
I mean, I don't, okay? But, one of the things is that these things will let you know. They're going to record when the furnace or the AC went on, when it went off, the duration. And that can be very useful. And, now we're talking about gathering a lot of data, more refined data than what you're going to get from your bills from the gas company or the electric company. And, now you can kind of start to paint a picture of, your home and what do I need to do to reduce some costs and things like that. So that some of
Yeah, and
those things
also-
are pretty. That's some pretty
Well,
that's pretty cool stuff.
And you said that about it cycling, about telling you the number of cycles that it comes on and off, and that helps you understand how long it's going to last, because what kills these systems largely is the on and off cycles, right? How many times it turns on and off.
That's a big part of it. And I'll tell you, the other thing is that that's coming on really strong is wireless flood detection and turn off of water.
Yes,
So
there are
say that
systems.
you're on vacation and all of a sudden this thing detects that you've got a leak. Boom, it turns off the water.
Yeah, what do they call that again? What's the name of it? I can't remember, but I've seen it and I thought, oh, that's really slick, because what it actually detects is the water flow.
Right.
It's a flow meter, and so it's looking for constant flow over long periods of time, and then it shuts it off automatically. So meaning if you left a hose on or something, it'd shut it off. It'd shut your whole water system off.
Right.
That might not be a good thing, but the idea is that if you had a leak, before your house actually floods, it shuts the water off.
Right, and then there's also one that you can just put underneath your sink, and it actually is so sensitive that it's just gauging the water pressure all the time.
Yep.
So if you have an abnormal leak, it will sense that and alert you to you've got a water issue. So there's a lot of cool things out there that we're gonna
yeah, we'll bring a lot more of that sort of thing in the future. And then again, we talked about security. I mean, I've got to tell you, I love my game cameras. I mean, excuse me, my
that's about what it is.
That's
about what it is.
It's actually really cool. Telling an aside, when we were out in California, so there we are, we're in Sequoia National Park, right, which is up in the mountains, and there's absolutely nothing, right? So I'm thinking, I'm looking around for game, I'm looking for elk, I'm looking for deer and stuff, Where are we seeing more?
Yeah.
Back here in Atlanta, Georgia, in my backyard,
Right, they're all sprawled out on your deck.
More freaking deer.
With sunglasses on the back deck under the umbrella.
That's my neighbor's cat.
Yeah.
I swear, when we're not there, the friggin' neighbor's cat thinks it lives at our house. It spends more time at our house than it does at its owners. But anyway, I don't really care because it's a cool cat. But it's just, it's like, we're like, what, does this cat live here or what? But anyway, long story short. So in the news, you were telling me some stories beforehand. You were telling me, now these are sort of technology, but these are coming out of the news. You were reading some articles on.
Yeah, well, I think the latest things, and we're going to be talking about this more and more, but some really exciting things that are emerging out there for construction. And I know a lot of folks out there. I know you probably do your own stuff, but it's interesting to get your mind around what's really going on with things like construction materials, the way people are building buildings these days, why they're much more secure in terms of like earthquakes, things like that. And then we get into self-healing materials.
Yeah, I don't believe you, but keep going.
Yeah. So I'll send you the article. I think it was in Market Watch. But this is a big thing that's being researched right now, and it's been going on for a number of years. And you can get all kinds of research papers, I guess, from your favorite schools like MIT. But it's things like self-healing cement. I mean, it's things like who knew, And
is it cement or concrete?
It's cement.
Are you sure?
Cementatious.
Okay, got it.
Cement, Larry. And
what's concrete, John?
Concrete is pretty hard.
It's cement. It's cement with rocks in it, right?
So what this is that they are doing work with actually an organic material that's like a spore that they put in these capsules, and they embed it in the cement itself when they pour the cement.
When they pour concrete,
and they sit there and they do not they're kind of in a state of suspended animation. Now, if that cement or the concrete cracks, these spores open up and they create some kind of a crystalline substance that keeps growing and growing and fills up the crack. So that's, stay tuned. That's kind of one of the.
It sounds strangely like Battlestar Galactica and the self-healing hull.
It's very out there, and they're doing it with plastics. They're doing it with all kinds of things. They also have a cement that is. That has a way to conduct electricity where you can actually heat it for airports.
Yep.
So there's some really neat things. The other thing is, everybody knows this probably by now, but the new ways of doing things like drones. People are using drones to look at roofs.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
To do all
100%.
those kind of things, right? Augmented reality, just to take put the glasses on. I know it might look a little goofy, but if you're it
doesn't look any goofier than you do.
That's right. Not right now. If I had those glasses. But so you need to think about it. You can actually, while they're doing a building, you can actually have the architects and everything used to walk through the building, being able to see, if you will, all the places and all the way the walls are going to be, all the way the plumbing, the doors, the electricity, everything. So you'll be able to see all that as you kind of walk through an empty building. And also, when people build a home, you'll be able to see, just on a flat structure, be able to see where all the studs. Wouldn't that be cool? You didn't even have to look it up, the plans or anything. The plans are really coming through right into your eyes, right? And you kind of you visualize where all the studs are got to be. So that's a couple of things. And then being in the software business, we talked about this earlier, is that there's a pretty big disruptor that's going on right now, and that's a BIM system. And I know they've been around for a little while, but
okay. So BIM stands for what?
And that's just going to say that is that's building information modeling. So what they're doing is they're actually taking a complete plan into a digital format and being able to create a physical out of it. In other words, they're going to be able to create a complete building with all the systems in it in a computer, more than just a CAD system, computer-aided design system, but be able to test all the systems, be able to test all plumbing, the heating, everything in there before they even put a shovel in the ground, which is really cool. So in terms of the complexity of the way buildings are built and the budgets as they are, versus the amount of time that it takes to build these things, this is something that really is going to add a lot of value to newer construction.
Wow, that's pretty awesome
and
stuff.
It's kind of interesting. It's all based on game technology.
Yeah, right. Yeah, augmented reality and all that.
So if you think about your games and how you can do walkthroughs and fly-throughs, that's what this is going to be. So, that's part of it. The other part is just the opposite. So you can actually take an older building, take it from a physical, and be able to use all these different sensors now to be able to take pictures and all the data points and create a digital
model,
digital model out of an old physical building. So
I'd like to see that done. Yeah. That would be very cool.
So they're saying, hey, we have the ability now to be able to see through walls, create the transparencies, know where all the plumbing is in the walls. So if we have to do demo work, we want to rearrange things. We want to, you don't want to drill through the plumbing, right? So
sounds like you've done that. Sounds like you've done that once or twice.
I know a guy who did.
Oh yeah. That's the two handyman pros telling you, been there, done that, and don't want to do that again, right? Yeah. Thank you, but no thank you. Thank you very much.
So there's a lot of innovative things and interesting pieces of technology that's coming around. So we'll talk about that, and the other thing that's really starting to hit out there, and I've seen a lot in my old job, is 3D printing.
Yes,
that's another thing that's really come a long way. I've seen cars that have been 3D printed, complete cars, complete Jeeps, everything. It's just unbelievable. But anyways, that's just kind of a little glimpse into some of the things we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, are there articles that we can link to? Can we put some of those and make some notes and put those on?
Absolutely, and I'm gonna give all the credit to places like Market Watch and some of these others, and we're gonna link all those articles too.
It's not me, I can tell you that.
No, it's not me either. It's not me either. But I find it very interesting because we talk about building materials and how they're it being accelerated, how much nicer they are, better they are, longer lasting they are these days.
Easier to install.
Easier to work
with in general, yeah.
Yeah, yep, and more standard than it's ever been.
Yep.
And this is something that's just I think our audience find it interesting on little small segments of what's happening.
As we sit here drinking off our coasters made out of.
You're right.
Lvt Flooring.
Yeah, Lvt Flooring. Right.
But there are many products, and we definitely are going to do some. We're going to do some more in depth. We'll do some deep dives into some of these products that are available. One of them that both John and we've become kind of enthralled with right now is Lvt Flooring. So LVT stands for luxury vinyl tile, and what it is it's a vinyl product, but gosh, it's so versatile, and there's different iterations of it, of course, but it's relatively inexpensive compared to traditional flooring. And both John and I were talking about how we're actually going to take some of it and adapt it for different uses, and try some different things with it and see what the results are going to be. So we'll let you know how that goes. One of the things that is one of my pet peeves is you go under somebody's sink and it's wet under there, and of course the wood's rotten or the particle board's chipping up. And I'm going to try putting some LVT in under my sinks, and I want to see how well it works. I'll just put it in under there. I'll take some pictures. We'll post it up on the website. This will be coming, I don't know, sometime in the next month or two. We're going to do that. But very interesting idea to take flooring and put it in under your sink. And at the cost levels that it's at, you can do it. It's not like it's expensive.
And it's it's just incredible the way they've made it look too. Some of it looks like regular old tile. Some of it looks like grain,
wood, real wood flooring. Yep.
Yeah, it's just and since it is waterproof, then you can put it in your basement. You can put it, anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's quite the material.
So these are some of the things that when we talk about technology and what's in the news about building materials and also about doing repairs and stuff, it's some of the stuff that we do. I was just one of the other things, I was just doing this tile project, right? And we were talking about RedGuard tile, which is a paint on waterproof membrane. Yeah. But we'll do a deep dive in that when we do some tile work. But just amazing stuff that didn't exist 10 years ago. It didn't even exist.
Yeah.
Or if it did, it was extremely rare and super expensive. And now it's become very, very reasonable. And so there's all kinds of things that we're going to try and keep you all in the loop on, some of this newer stuff that we find to be very, very intriguing that really can help save us time, money, and or aggravation, which is what our goal is. Right, John?
That's absolutely it.
All right. Well, do we have anything else for this article, for this segment?
No. I hope that everybody gets a chance to check out the blog after the podcast. So we'll put all the links in there for these articles, and we'll keep you up to speed.
So speaking of blogs too, I just want to mention we do publish a blog. We usually do it every Monday and every Thursday. Sometimes it's Tuesday and Thursday. But in those blogs, we have a whole series of things such as the basic home maintenance series, and these are little tips and tricks that y'all can just do at your leisure, to where you can read these articles. And they're little things that'll just help you maintain your home. They're really short. I try to keep them really, really short. They're 300 words or so. Some are a little longer depending on the complexity, but in general, they're not very long. There are things you can do in 10 to 15 minutes. I have it arranged in such a way that you have your time commitment, your cost, how often you need to do it, and what's the fourth thing? Anyway, there's one other parameter that I don't have off the top of my head, but just kind of gives you an idea. It's just, for example, changing your HVAC filters, it's going to be about, well, depending on where you live and what your usage is, but about every 3 months. It's going to take you about 15 minutes. It's going to cost you $10 to $15, and how you should be doing it about once a quarter. So it's just little tips and tricks. That's what's on our blog. That's at handymanprosradioshow.com under the blog section.
All righty. Anything else, Larry?
Nope, that should do it.
Okay. From the email bag at questions@handymanprosradioshow.com, we received an email from Darla, and she had a question about a little outlet by her sink that it has a little red button on it, and it won't stay in. Larry, what do you think about that?
I think that's a problem. No, sounds like she has a ground fault circuit interrupter problem.
And that is?
Well,
what is that thing?
So what is that thing? So a ground fault circuit interrupter is a circuit breaker on the outlet itself, and it detects very, very, very small amounts of voltage when it's just not right. Basically, we'll call it non-dangerous, and they usually put them by sinks, any wet location where you might make contact with it and actually ground yourself out, and it helps to not electrocute yourself, right, John? And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff.
Yeah, it's designed to turn off the electricity very quickly.
Very quickly.
It's very sensitive.
Yeah, extremely sensitive. And so thus, by code, most of them are around water, basically, because water is a huge grounding agent, correct? And so, if you have your hand in the sink and the sink's full of water and you drop your mixer in there.
Yeah, you mean you got one hand on the toaster and one hand in the water?
Yeah.
Not a good thing. And you're plugging it in.
I mean, well, we say that, but those things are put there for reasons, and that actually is, believe it or not, it's just the obvious reason to keep you from getting electrocuted. Now, what happens with those ground fault circuit interrupters is that if they pop a lot, it's an indication of a couple of different things. One is that it is an electromechanical switch, basically, and it comes on and off. And it does have a limited service life as far as the number of times that it can come on and off. So one of the things that it could be wrong with it for you, Darla, is that you just need to replace the actual ground fault circuit itself. I think one of the other things that you need to look at, too, and John, correct me on this one, but many times on ground fault circuit interrupters, they daisy chain them out. So when we say that, what we mean is that there's power that comes in one side and then it goes out the top, and everything after that, right, is now in that ground fault circuit. So usually,
Correct.
like in a kitchen or something, if you have a series of outlets that runs down the wall by the sink, they're all going to be hooked into that one ground fault circuit interrupter. And so if that pops, all the other ones will go dead.
Right.
And the significance there is that perhaps the short, as it were, is somewhere downstream. It could be. It's a possibility.
Or it's just a bad switch.
Or it's just a bad switch. Or you have an actual real electrical problem, which is something that you would probably need to call.
Get a professional out there.
Yeah, get a master electrician out there. But that's probably what your problem is. 9 out of 10 times, I mean, what we see, or what I've seen anyway, is 9 out of 10 times the actual switch is bad. The ground fault's bad. Yeah. It's just happened. Or whatever you have plugged in there actually has a short in it. We have had that too.
I was just telling you a story about, up on my third floor, when my daughter, she's drying her hair with a hair dryer and the circuit popped. Now all your circuits, and this house was built back in the 90s, but these things have found their way into more and more places.
Right.
The codes are getting more
stringent
on these things, but they daisy chained this one of these circuits all the way to the basement, and I could not find when so it popped. Okay, because she overloaded it.
Right. Big surprise.
Right. And I could not find where the breaker was. I went to the breaker box, couldn't find it. And then finally I saw on my basement wall that, I've seen it a jillion times.
Right.
But you just don't,
you're not really paying attention.
Nothing ever clicks. Yeah, you don't pay attention.
You say, it's just for the basement.
And there it was. It was popped.
Right.
And sure enough, that was the one that was the kind of the master that was controlling this circuit, which is kind of crazy because I've got a bunch of them. But, these are the things that, just as an aside, if one of your switches is dead, especially around a wet area, kind of start to look for those ground fault interrupters and see if one of them
has popped. And I guess so. We talk a lot about maintenance, about understanding what things are going on in your house.
That is, yes.
Test those ground fault circuit interrupters every so often. Number one,
that's a good point.
And number two is find out what if other than just that one outlet, do they control any other outlets? Because it can be very befuddling sometimes if it pops one of those things, and they can be fairly far away. Theoretically, could be in another room, right? Because they wired it from one room and then into the next room behind the wall. Right?
Mine was 2 stories down.
2 stories down, and so
crazy,
kind of that one's crazy. but it just, understand where they are, because sometimes, like you plug something in, you go, well, I don't have any power. Why don't I have any power? And the first thing you do, first thing I always do is go to the breaker box, right? Because that's always what I think.
Yep.
And then
that's what I did.
And and if it's not there, then you're like, okay, what happened?
Yeah.
Then I start looking for nails.
Right.
Oh, wait, that's just a result of being at Tim's house.
Right.
We did a job.
Right.
We did a job. Just to let everybody know, we've probably said it before. We did a job last summer, and we were in this, and it actually was dead past a certain outlet. And come to find out, one of the siding guys had shot a nail through one of the wires. So we found it, but it was took a while. So anyway, John, anything else on ground faults?
Nope. We'll probably wind up doing a little bit more on that and the importance of these things. And
it also brings up the other ones, which are arc faults, which are a similar
thing. Exactly. So anyways, stay tuned. And Darla, good luck with that, and I hope we answer your question.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this podcast and have derived some value from it, here's 4 things you can do. 1, tell your friends about this podcast. 2, hit subscribe on your podcast player. While you're there, leave us a review. 3, subscribe to our newsletter by going to handymanprosradioshow.com and click on the subscribe button. We'll inform you of upcoming events, shows, and give you actionable tips for maintaining your home and property. And 4, send us an email with your questions to questions@handymanprosradioshow.com. That's handymanprosradioshow.com. That's our show for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.